So why is Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma, why is it under constant attack, right? From outside forces and even from within, in a lot of instances. Just constantly the propaganda, the anti-Hindus out there, and then also tying in with anti-Indians, because most Indians are Hindu, but they're identifying more so as Indian than Hindu. But that just shows the degeneration, right? So that a lot of people are within Sanatan Dharma, but they're not really, practicing it in a very profound, higher level of consciousness way, where they're seeking the higher teachings and the higher truths. A lot of people are just, going to the temples and then, praying to a deity, and then they think that that's enough. But ultimately, and then that's kind of how, by design, by the lower negative forces, levels of consciousness in the world, some would call that evil, right? So there's a prevalent negativity that is in sharp contrast to the higher positivity, right? And it's almost like it's orchestrated and designed to keep Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma, low, the highest teachings out of the hands of the masses, right? So slowly, it's begun infiltrating and then getting adopted by Westerners, and then it turned into the whole New Age spiritual movement, which is 100%, started by the teachings of Sanatan Dharma, the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and then all of the other sacred texts, and then of course the teachings of the Buddha, and then those dharmic traditions as well. And then all of a sudden it morphed and it turned into a lot of, astrology and channeling, and aliens crept in there. But the core truth is that the highest spiritual teachings are still found within Sanatan Dharma, right? Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and then the similar texts that talk about these ultimate teachings. So when we're talking about evil and negativity, yeah, of course, it's going to be like, whether it's orchestrated by some evil genius mastermind, or if it's just the divine play of these positive and negative energies, it's going to come about where it's suppressed, right? Even with the invasions back in the olden days, it was really, suppressed. But even prior to that, right? The Brahmins were like holding on to the wisdom and not sharing it with the people, similar to, like Catholicism in the early days, and it was all in Latin, and most people couldn't even read the Bible, right? So there's been this tradition of withholding spiritual knowledge and spiritual truth, even within Jewish mysticism, right? The Kabbalah and the Zohar, yeah, that was really kept from the masses for a really, really long time, and then now it's starting to get more mainstream and popular. And I just learned Kabbalah, and it's very, very high level. It's very practical spiritual wisdom and how to apply it. Very much talking about the same thing. They also believe in reincarnation. They believe in the soul. They believe in karma, right? They call it tikkun, which means your soul's correction. When something bad happens, you got to see it as a good thing. It's like, oh, something bad happened to me. That's my karma. That tells me what I need to work on. And then you work on that spiritually, and then more tests will come up, and then you slowly pass those tests, and then you evolve spiritually. So, yeah, with anti-Hinduism, and even like Sanatan Dharma not really being united as a whole because it is so diverse, yeah, that's got to be, up to the younger generation to bring about that transformation and change, right? And I see it. There's very, very many young Sanatan Dharmis out there who are really, really, really kind-hearted and really loving and caring beings, right? Really practicing, mostly bhakti at this time. But it's going to turn more and more so into, studying the jnana yoga, the scriptures, especially with the advent of all these YouTube channels now that are really teaching this truth. So how do we combat the anti-Hinduism? Well, you got to be pro. You got to be more pro Sanatan Dharma, pro yoga, the highest yogas, the highest teachings. You got to be pro Bhagavad Gita. You got to be pro Upanishads. You got to read them. You got to study them. You got to understand them. You got to, listen to the gurus and teachers if you resonate with any of them, if any of them are calling to you. And then listen, and then practice the teachings and then see for yourself the wisdom contained within, right? And then once you do, then you vibrate higher. You're going to be in a higher level of consciousness once you pass the tests, get out of the lower levels, and then you're going to be more filled with joy and love, and behavior is going to change. You're going to be more caring for others. And people feel that, right? It's your aura, it's your presence. And then you change the world, because you've changed, right? You transform, and then you become that light and love in the world. And then ultimately that spreads, right? So the more Indians, Sanatan Dharmis, who are practicing, then there's going to be a new energy in the world, right? Because right now, a lot of people out there, really upset with Indians going to other countries, in the West, and now also other Asian countries, and they're not assimilating, they're not respecting the cultures that they're going to, right? So that takes the spiritual work to transform the mindset, right? So once there's a mindset shift, and then that ripples out throughout the younger generation, then people will start behaving differently. And then it'll be this thing that eventually, it needs to happen. If we enter into a golden age, and even when you think about the Satya Yuga, I believe that's the beginning of the Yuga cycle, and that's the real golden age. I'm not saying that we're entering into that. I'm just saying that within the Kali Yuga, there's supposed to be a golden age right now, right? Because we're incredibly fortunate. We have access to all of the highest spiritual teachings. We've had avatars descended in recent times. We've had Sri Krishna, we have Lord Buddha, and we have Lord Jesus Christ, who were all calibrating at 1,000, which is the highest level possible, right? So we got we got to accept that, and and then see, well, what were these great beings teaching, right? So Sri Krishna as God, that's what he's teaching, and that's the truth, right? He was teaching the Bhagavad Gita, which is, the song of God. This is what God said. This is what's going on. This is how we need to behave, right? In order to advance spiritually, right? And then Jesus was a son of God, and he was teaching that we're all children of God, and he was teaching to surrender unto God. So so choose a deity. It doesn't have to be Lord Krishna. It can be any higher deity for you that encompasses, the source of reality, right? And then the Buddha, he was teaching that you don't even need to believe in God. You just go within, right? And then you access the infinite field of consciousness within yourself, transcending, duality of subject, object, and then getting into the high states of pure consciousness, which is entirely possible as well. So, we really got to let go of the divisiveness, and then that's why Sanatan Dharma is so important, because it is all inclusive. We're all one family. We're either all one family or we're all one, coming from one source. So however you want to envision that, you don't need to go, convert to any other religion. The religions that are still, perpetuating that are, they're the anti-Hindus. So by becoming more solidified in the conviction of the truth within Sanatan Dharma, that leads to an eventual tipping point where everybody, you know, accepts it. That there's just universal laws that are beyond, you know, concept and words. It's just, this is who we are, what we're doing, and how it is. And yeah, and those are found in the highest teachings, and they're being taught by the highest teachers. So to really help Hinduism right now, well, you got to support it, right? So if you're watching videos on YouTube, for example, you're watching your favorite spiritual Hindu YouTubers teaching some of this wisdom, yeah, interact, engage, leave a comment, leave a like, support those videos, watch the whole video. Audience retention is the most important thing on YouTube, and then that'll help those channels. Yeah, that'll help those channels get pushed out to more and more people, and those videos will spread more, and more people will have access to the spiritual wisdom that really needs to spread right now in the younger generation, in India, and yeah, globally. So I'm really praying for India. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for Sanatana Dharma to spread and flourish, and for people to begin to, you know, accept it as the truth and the high teachings that it is. So anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you practicing? Are you diving into the teachings? Are you learning all about the ancient spirituality and culture of Sanatana Dharma and how amazing it was back in the Gurukul days? Would have been incredible. So anyways, let me know. Yeah, leave a like for me, and we'll see you on the next one. Raise yourself, raise the world. Peace.